You mentioned legacy, and that's something that, when I was coming into it, that was kind of what I recognized as well too, right? Is like you have a family business and it's kind of like, okay, like what do you want to keep going on? And I really resonate when you say legacy because ultimately for me, it's like I like feel like my grandfather left a legacy, my dad's leaving a legacy. I want to leave a legacy and I want my kids to do the same thing. But overall, it's the same legacy. It's the White family, you know, our buildings, our excavators, our trucks on the road, the charities that we do, the foundation fundraising, all that sort of stuff kind of plays into it, right? And I really appreciate that you mentioned legacy because to me, when I talk to somebody who has a family business and they mention the word legacy or, this is what it's about, it's like, yeah, that person kind of understands it and gets it, right? Because I always think about my grandfather and even my dad and a lot of the struggles that they went through, repo men coming up for their stuff and missing out on family events. Growing up, my dad was, gone quite a bit working. And it's like, you almost feel bad if you kind of just didn't carry that on because then in my mind, it's like, well, then it was kind of all for nothing because sure, they might sell and they might have money, but what's even more powerful than money to me is like that legacy of, your last name and your family being carried on.
No, absolutely. It's you see it, with us being in the third generation. There's the statistics say that we're usually the ones that either crash it into the ground or sell it and walk away. And I think just in talking to you now, it's like you're very aware of that pressure, as am I, and it almost puts a chip on your shoulder where it's like, well, I'll can show the world that we're going to dial this up to 11 because worst case scenario in my mind is obviously I run the business in the ground. 10 years in, it doesn't seem like that's the course we're on. Um, and, second worst scenario would be we just coast. You just essentially ride the coattails of the old man and not push and not grow the business. Once again, don't think that's the case. So I really think we are, and what I've seen of your organization is you're on the right trajectory to, make a statement and defy the statistics or the status quo for a third generation company. And that's very exciting for me just to see what you're doing. It's good because then it lets me know I'm not nuts.
No, it's the same with you. And that's why I really respect and like talking to relatable people like this because it is kind of a niche. Not too often you're talking to somebody else who's third generation and their family owns a construction company as well too, And although from the outside looking in, like you mentioned, like, like we kind of have the chip on our shoulder, like, yeah, well, watch me go. Like, you think so? It's true because you kind of are your whole life been told, it's easy, it's this, it's that, and then you're going to run it into the ground, and that's what really actually pushes and motivates the reasoning for me as far as like legacy. It's just like even up to most recently, we've had employees leave and like employees and they say stuff, at their exit interviews and stuff. And we like 2 years ago, this guy left and he's like. And I'm like, well, I guess it was just a bad him leaving. And he said stuff about, like, I can't wait to see you sink this thing and it won't go anywhere and this and that. And here I am talking about it 2 years later, not because it bothers me, but because I won't ever forget that. That's
Mhm.
the type of stuff that sticks in my head that when I'm busting my and pushing and constantly pushing and reaching a milestone and not stopping and keeping going up from that, that's stuff I'm reminded of where it's like, I love to see the look on your face right now, dude. You know what I mean?
I haven't experienced that negativity um, from people either that or I'm just completely ignorant to it, which is a very likely scenario. But my dad will share stories about how, when he was 18, and he was a below average student. He always said he had to do this because he was too dumb to get into college. And that was why it was a big push for me to go to school. Um, but, he had a lot of teachers that kind of talked down to him and it's like if they could see really what we built now or be aware of it, he had, a lot of people talk negatively about what he was trying to do or he'll never be anything. And it's fun to see what we've built now and to just kind of know in the back of your mind that for one, nobody's opinion really matters, right?
No.
Um, but at the end of the day, you really built something and you should be proud of. And, to speak on the legacy thing again, the fact that my grandfather passed away, essentially 12 years before I was born, this business is really the only tangible connection I have to him. And that for me, it's important, because it goes so much beyond just what I want to do or what you want to do. It's like, it's about the big picture, man.
I really appreciate hearing that because my grandfather died when I was 6 years old. And yeah, I think often that, you know, I wish Grandpa could see what we have going on right now as a team, as a collective. Look at how many, people that we're feeding and look at the work that we're completing. And, look at what we're doing for the community and look at the money we raise for the children's hospital. And I love that sort of stuff because I think that, like you said, and I've actually never put it down like that, but I like that. It's kind of like this is like what I have remaining of him to kind of, be able to speak to him and continue on with his name and legacy, which is super cool.